I read The Maidens by Allen's. That's not his name. That's not his name. So this book, yeah, it's literally called Prologue. Why can't I use my words today? And I wanted to read it during Witchy season. So he is a American professor who is teaching Greek tragedy at, did I say Oxford? They're at Cambridge. Dang it. And then it's like, well, I can't do it, so forget it, and I'm not going to try and do anything. And I feel really defeated, and I get down on myself, and then it's all over. So, hi everybody, it's Audrey, and welcome back to Chapter and Converse. Today's video is going to be the rest of the books that I read in October. So I have 4 books to talk about today. I have a lot of things to say because I'm going to talk about The Maidens, so it's happening. But if you missed the first part, I will link it down below. But this is also the first video I have filmed since I hit 4,000 subscribers on YouTube. And you guys, thank you so much. I remember when I had 4 people watching me, and I remember being so excited that 4 people wanted to watch me. So I can't even tell you guys how grateful I am. So thank you for watching and subscribing and liking my videos and commenting and chatting with me. And I'm so glad I have made so many great bookish connections through this. And it's just been like when it happened, it was like, this is just so nice. Like it was just like exactly the boost of just like positive feelings that I needed. And it just, I love doing this, and I would do this. It's like writing. I'm going to do it whether or not anybody reads it. I was going to do this whether or not anybody watched it because I love talking about books, and I like filming, and I like editing, and I just enjoy this entire process. And I should have looked, and I didn't because I am a bad booktuber. But November, this is my 3rd year on BookTube, and even though I took some unplanned breaks and wasn't always the most consistent, I feel like I'm in a pretty good groove, and I'm really having so much more fun with it. And I just, like I said, I love talking to you guys and being here. So thank you guys so much again for subscribing and watching and everything. I can't even believe it, but it means so much to me that you guys are here. And I love being able to share and talk about books with you guys. So that's what we're going to do today. Like I said, it's only 4 books, but of course I have a lot to say, and let's just dive on into it. Okay, let's jump in right away with probably the most controversial book I've read this month. And I finally read The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. And I know it's not controversial, but it's controversial in that this is such a talked about book. I feel like people either love it or hate it, which I feel like people felt the same way about The Silent Patient. And I loved The Silent Patient. And this was one of my most anticipated books of the year. And I finished reading this on October 23rd. I'm very late in doing this. It's November 14th. I still have complicated feelings about this book. So I give it props to the fact that I'm still thinking about it, and I don't love it, but I don't hate it. And there's parts that I love, and there's parts that were frustrating, and there's parts that I wish were different, which is not fair at all. And I'm so conflicted, but I'm still thinking about it. And there's a couple things that happened for me during this book. So this book is about a woman named Mariana, and she is a group therapist with a whole lot of baggage of her own. And one night she gets a call from her niece Zoe, who is a student at Cambridge where Mariana went to school as well. And Zoe calls to tell her that one of her closest friends has been murdered and found in the woods by campus. And she is freaking out, as one would expect. So Mariana rushes up there to help her. And Zoe's parents died when she was younger, so Mariana and her are very close. She's helped to raise her. She took her in after her sister and her sister's husband were killed, and they have a very close bond. And again, Mariana will do anything for her. So she goes up to Cambridge, and she obviously wants to help comfort Zoe and do whatever she can for her. And when Mariana is up there, she of course is intrigued by the case. And from the get-go, she has decided she knows who did it. So the first page of this book in the prologue says, Edward Fosca was a murderer. So Mariana is convinced that this is fact. And he is an American professor who teaches Greek tragedy at Cambridge. And there's just something about him. So he has sort of this close-knit group of women, students, who follow him around, who are dubbed the Maidens. And Mariana thinks there's just something not quite right about this group and something not quite right about him. And she is on a mission to prove that he is a murderer. So I know a lot of people had a problem from the start with this plot line. And here is where my complicated feelings come into play. So I feel like I heard a lot of people say things like, who is she to investigate a murder? Like, who is Mariana to come up to Cambridge and start to look into a murder? She's a group therapist. She has no business. I feel like every book has a premise. And the premise of this book is that she is going to amateur detective her way into this and trying to figure out what happened to help her niece. So it's cool if you're not on board with that as a concept, but it's the concept of the book. So to me, it's like, why is Jessica Fletcher solving all the mysteries? And I love me some J.B. Fletcher. Because she is. Because it's what she does. Because it's, you know, that's the premise of the show. So I feel like if you're not down for the premise of the book, it's totally fine. But I didn't mind that part. Fine. Totally fine. You do you, Mariana. And where I started to get hung up, and this was more about me and less about the book, is having read The Silent Patient and knowing that there was a pull the rug out from under you moment to that book. I was not one of those people that saw it coming. And I was looking for the rug pulling moment while I was reading this. And I could not stop. Like, I wasn't actively like, I'm going to go into this book and try and figure out what game he's playing with me this time. But I couldn't get it out of my head. And I related it to when I read Survive the Night by Riley Sager, where like the first 100 pages of that book, I was looking for the thing. Because I know Riley Sager will do a thing, and he doesn't do the same thing every time. But I know that things are never quite what they seem in a lot of these mystery thriller books. And I could not shut my brain off when I started to read that. And I could not shut my brain off when I started to read this. And I talked about it in, I don't even know what video. I bought the books together from Murder by the Book in Houston, and they shipped together. And I was like, maybe they rubbed up against each other, and both have that juju in it where I was like, why are you making these incredibly conflicting reading experiences for me? But anyway, once I kind of sort of got past that, but I couldn't help theorizing what was going on, I enjoyed a lot of aspects of the book. So Mariana is definitely frustrating. I will say there were parts of this that I was not feeling the tension that I think we were supposed to feel. I cannot say certain things because I don't want to spoil. I finally reviewed this on Goodreads, so you can check out like kind of all my feelings there. But I felt like there were some characters that weren't necessary, that didn't really add anything to the book. And there were definitely some parts that I was like, ugh, about, but I think there were parts you were supposed to feel that way about. And again, you've got that thing where like characters are making decisions or saying things or doing things where you're like, that is dumb. What are you doing? Like, don't do the thing. But again, that is the choice the character made in that moment. And maybe the character makes dumb decisions. So I was trying to kind of like get all of that stuff out of my head, and I had a hard time with it. So I don't know how to recommend this book to people because I think some people are just going to love it. I wanted the dark academia. I liked the atmosphere of this. There is obviously a tie-in with Greek mythology because he is the Greek tragedies professor. And then Mariana is Greek, so Mariana Andros is her name. So there is a connection to some Greek mythology with her. I wish there had been more of it. Alex Michaelides himself is Greek, so I really liked what he wove into this and some of that kind of, like I say, mythology, not to keep saying the same word over and over again, but I wish there was more of it. And there's a little bit of a secret history feel to it in that you have that elite group with the Maidens, but I kind of wanted more of the Maidens and almost wish we had more perspectives other than just Mariana. And I did feel after I read Lore at the beginning of the year and I got so pulled down a Greek mythology rabbit hole that this was like a great, not counter read to that, but sort of that same feeling of like I was really enjoying that piece of it and I just wanted more of it. There were things that I feel like, again, if the book isn't all the things I wanted it to be, didn't mean it wasn't a good book. I still enjoy his writing. I will still read whatever he writes. I think I just wanted more of this. And then there is a nice little wink to the silent patient in this. And I don't think it's critical in any way that you have read The Silent Patient before you read this, but I was wondering, and again, I wrote this in my Goodreads in a spoilery way, and I won't do it here in a spoilery way, but I'm wondering if the wink was supposed to make us feel a certain way about Mariana. So I have a lot of questions, and I might also be overthinking it, but I started to go down that path as well. So again, I feel like my mind was sort of going all over the place, but I enjoyed it. I'm glad I read it. Again, I will read more from him. I'm still conflicted. I'm still conflicted. And I have so many notes in the front too. Some of them are spoilers, so I'm not going to read them all. But I basically was like, complicated feelings, very survive the night. So I also wrote review this holistically. So what I was trying not to do was have a feeling 50 pages in and have that cloud how I felt 100 pages in or 150 pages in. So to read the whole book, take some space from it. I'm talking so much about this book, right? But I really enjoy him as a writer. I enjoyed the story of it. I think the potential was there to raise the stakes and be more tense and maybe be a little bit more creepy, but I liked it for what it is. I think I gave it 3.5 stars on my Goodreads, and I'm comfortable with that. So it was like a little bit more than a 3, but it definitely wasn't a 4. So there you go. That probably wasn't helpful to you guys, was it? I don't know. Let me know if you guys read this one and what you thought about it. I know there's so many controversial so many controversial feelings about this one, but there you go. Whew, that was a lot. That was Maidens. Let's talk about Cackle by Rachel Harrison. So this was very sweetly gifted to me for my birthday from Jeannie. So thank you again so much for this. And if you guys haven't seen my insane birthday book haul, mostly because I got so many books as gifts that I wasn't expecting, I will link that for you guys down below and up above and all the things. But I was super excited for this book. So when I first heard about this book, I was really excited and really intrigued. And it had some witchy vibes and it felt perfect for this time of year. And then, of course, I was doing the thing I do and I was listening to some podcasts, and I was listening to a podcast with Rachel Harrison, and I was like, I need to read this immediately. And I loved this book. And I say it in a way where I feel like I sound shocked, but because there was so much I didn't expect in this book, and I related to this character so much. Like, I don't even have the words to describe how much I related to this character. And I feel like I showed it in the other video too, but like, can you see the dog earring situation that happened here? I basically dog-eared this entire book. I'm obsessed. I'm absolutely obsessed. So this is a story about Annie, and Annie is living in New York City with her boyfriend. She's a teacher, and when the book opens, they have already broken up, but they're still living together. And Annie needs to move out, but she can't afford to live in New York City on her teacher's salary, so she winds up getting a teaching job upstate, and she leaves. And she rents a room in a house, and she's off for a fresh start, and she's going to like this town that she's never been to before, and she doesn't know anyone. And it's a little bit of like a Stars Hollow-ish type of feel, where it's a small community and everybody knows everybody, and there's farmers markets and the local coffee shop and all of that. But something is definitely a little bit unique about this town. So Annie goes to a farmer's market, and she winds up meeting this woman named Sophie, who is beautiful and fascinating and mysterious, and Annie is instantly drawn to her. And Sophie, in turn, is drawn to Annie and kind of takes her under her wing. And she hears her story about her breakup, and she wants to help Annie become her own person and help her get over this breakup and sort of embrace her own power and her own independence. And it's this very interesting story of their friendship and sort of a reckoning that Annie has. And there's some mystery to Sophie as well. So it says, okay, there are some things. Sophie's appearance is uncanny and ageless. Her mansion in the middle of the woods feels a little unearthly, and she does seem to wield a certain power, but she couldn't be. Could she? So I did not expect, like I said, to fall in love with this book as much as I did, but Annie reminds me of me at a certain point in my life. So I really connected with her and what she was going through and her feelings and her emotions and the friendship between the two women. And I just loved sort of how twisty this got, and not like in a murder mystery thriller, but it's definitely what's going on here kind of a thing. I hesitate to say too much about it because I don't want to ever give anything away, but I really loved it. So like on one level, you've got this like really mysterious, like is there witchy vibes going on here? And on another level, it's like this very contemporary, relatable story about this woman who's trying to rebuild her life after having a devastating breakup and trying to really come to terms with what happened in that relationship. So I loved it. I read it super fast. I cannot recommend it enough. And I had mentioned, I feel like in another video, and I don't even remember which one it was, but The Return is her first book, and I haven't read it, and I was curious about it, but I had heard a few people sort of have some mixed feelings on the ending of the book, but then a lot of you guys chimed in and said to give it a go. So I'm definitely going to be checking out more Rachel Harrison. So I will be reading The Return, and then I know she's going to have a new book coming out next year. So I am hooked. Hugely highly recommend it. This one was amazing. I'm also still trying to work on that self-help situation. And in my last basket of books video that I posted, which was just some more books I had, which had a lot of these books in it, or I shouldn't say a lot of these books in it, but it had Atomic Habits in it. And I'm currently reading / listening to Untamed. So I'm trying to feed my mind and help get myself back on track, because I definitely have gotten very lazy with my habits and I don't want to be that way. So I wound up getting the audiobook of this as well from my library, and I really like listening to nonfiction books, and with books like this, I like to listen and read along. So I wound up marking a lot of pages and dog-earing some stuff and taking some notes, but I really felt that listening to this book helped me absorb it in a different way and helped me connect to it in a different way. And like any, I find, self-helpish type of book, there's parts that will resonate, there's parts that don't really apply or that I don't connect with, but I have gone back, I've made some notes, I need to do a lot more. So long story short, maybe I should tell you that. It's basically tiny changes, remarkable results. So how you can implement some new habits into your life for long-standing change, for immediate change. And one of the things I really love about this from an approach standpoint, and to take, for example, wanting to improve my fitness. It isn't, you have to do 10,000 steps a day. You have to run 5 miles every week. You have to work out 7 days a week. It literally is saying maybe step 1 for you is putting on your sneakers, and that's it. Maybe it's, I'm going to go to the gym for 5 minutes, and you go to the gym for 5 minutes, and when your 5 minutes is up, you leave. You make commitments that you can keep, and then you build upon them. And obviously you're not going to improve your health or, change your life by putting your sneakers on. But if you can't even get your shoes on to get out the door, and just getting your shoes on and saying, this is the first step I'm going to take, is the first step you take, that's progress. And again, I mean, you can break it down into the smallest possible pieces. And I like this approach because, again, like, it feels tangible to me. It feels doable. So if you break all these habits down into the smallest possible pieces and then you start to build upon them over time, that to me feels like something that can be done. And also it's not going to leave me feeling defeated, because I can definitely be one of those people who are like, I'm going to do all 10 of these things. And for 2 days I'll do them. And on day 3, maybe I've done 5 or I've done 4 or I've done none, or I overwhelm myself trying to do too much. And then I feel defeated and I just give up and say it's not worth it and I'm not even going to try anymore. And then I feel even worse than when I started. So this is designed to not take you down before you've even started. And I just thought it was great. So I'm going to go back through it. Like I said, I've marked up so many pages. There's so many great things in here. I'm not going to try and implement them all at once, because again, I want it to be sustainable and manageable. But I am really eager to start to implement some changes and to add some more structure back, now that I feel like my personal life and work life were kind of swirling for quite a long time, to sort of be able to add back in some structure, especially before I get into the holidays, which I feel like is just another swirl of time. So I really enjoyed it. And another thing here, sort of on the lines of like the putting on your running shoes, this is applicable for anything. So it also has, whether you're trying to write a book, earn a PhD, whatever it is you're doing. So from a writing standpoint, it had, for very easy, you write 1 sentence, and then you write 1 paragraph, and then you write 1 page. So again, it's very digestible pieces that you can do. And if you can get yourself to the desk, to the computer, and you write 1 sentence, you've done it. And that's your win for the day. So I really, really enjoy this. And I just thought it was great. So I have read a lot of books in my time, and this is one that I definitely will recommend. And again, I'm going to go back to it. So I'll keep you guys posted as I learn more things about it if anybody's interested. But I thought it was great. And I thought the audiobook was great, like I said. But for me, I need to be able to take notes and mark pages and write in it. So I needed a little bit of both. But I was glad I was able to get that from the library and do it in conjunction with my book. The next book I read was The Good Sister by Sally Hepworth. And I actually had an arc of this, which I did not read at the time. And I'm kicking myself because it was so good, you guys. But I finally read it and I totally enjoyed it. So this book follows the fraternal twins, Rose and Fern Cackle, and they are in their 20s now, late 20s, and we get multiple timelines, we get multiple points of view, and we find out very early in the book that when they were 12 years old, Fern did a very bad thing, and Rose has been her protector ever since, and even before that point. So Fern is described as having sensory issues, and she is on the autism spectrum, and Rose has always looked out for her, and again, protected her, and really coddled her. Their mom was a little bit absent from their life, so Rose really sort of stepped in and took on that maternal role for them. And because Rose has been her protector and helped her when that bad thing happened, Fern has always felt indebted to her. So this is going to sound a little wacky, but trust when I say it all makes sense. So Rose and her husband wanted to have a baby, and they just haven't been able to have one. So Fern decides she's going to get pregnant, not tell Rose, but then give Rose the baby, because she will do anything for her sister. So Fern is on a mission to find a man, because she's not married, she doesn't have a partner, she's not in a relationship, but she just needs to find someone who can impregnate her so she can give her sister a baby. I know it sounds crazy, but it sounds completely grounded in reality in this book, and it 1000% works, because it's coming from the best, warmest intention of Fern's heart. And I was here for it. And I love Fern. She is probably one of the best characters I have read in the longest time. I love her perspective. I love her wit. I love her, like, she's very much described as like no filter. She says it like it is. And she winds up meeting this man at the library she works at the library. He comes in, he's like needs to use the copy machine because he basically lives in a van off the grid. And he's wearing a red and white striped hat, so very Where's Waldo for people in the US. But this book is based in Australia, and down there it's called Where's Wally. So she is convinced his name is Wally. She just calls him Wally. And he's like, that's not my name, and tries to convince her to not call him that. But eventually he just gives up, and he's like, that's fine. So there's just something so heartwarming about it, and again, the best of intentions from Fern, but it's such, like, it went to such a deeper, more interesting place, exploring these relationships, exploring the sisters, the maternal kind of mother-daughter relationship, the sister-sister relationship, and it's not thrillery. I would say kind of like slow burn mystery, because you're trying to piece together what happened in the past, and there's some mysteries that are happening in the present day, and it all comes together beautifully, and I loved it. And there were some things where I was like, oh, maybe it's this, and then there were some things I did not see coming at all. But it was like heartwarming, but some heartbreaking moments in it, and I was like completely choked up at different times, and then I was angry at other times, and then I was like rooting at other times. But I loved it. This was my first Sally Hepworth book, and I can't believe it took me this long. And I feel like I say that when I read, I'm like looking around because I know I did that with somebody else recently. Oh, and I was talking about Jennifer Hillier. I can't believe it took me that long to read Wonderland, but I loved this book so much, you guys. I just thought it was so great. I liked the writing. I really loved the characters, and I just think, like, I dare you to read this book and not fall in love with Fern, because I just think she was so well drawn in this book, and I just loved where it went. I absolutely loved it, and yeah. And I think it's so good. I think it's so good. And I'm so afraid of like saying anything that's going to give a hint of anything away. I have struggled so much lately with book jacket copy giving away way too much, and either spoiling things that happen like well over 100 pages into a book, or giving you hints to things that it would have been better going in blind. So I am trying as best I can to go in somewhat blind to books. Like, I need to read enough to know that I want to read it, but I don't want to read too much and risk ruining something for myself. So I will leave you with this. It's a story about sisters. It's smart, it's funny, it's mysterious, there's darkness to it. which I love. And oh my gosh, the Wally stuff just absolutely cracks me up. It's like the Charlie Bear thing and Never Saw Me Coming. I just love it. I just absolutely love it. So I am here for a new author. I have the arc of her new book as well, so I'm excited to dive into that. And yeah, I highly recommend it. So am I the last person reading Sally Hepworth? Probably. This one was great. So that's going to do it for the rest of what I read in October. So I still am halfway through Saw Kill Girls. I soft DNF'd that one. I didn't slow DNF it. I soft DNF'd that. I swear the calendar flipped to November 1st and it was like needle off the record, the biggest reading slump. I tried to read, I think, 5 different books and could not connect. I had to put down Saw Kill Girls. I tried Chasing the Boogeyman. I think I got like 80 pages into that. I tried some self-help. I tried a contemporary. I just could not get anything to sit with me. So I'm a little bit in flux in November. I'm knocking on the floor. I think I'm out of my slump. I'm reading Who is Maud Dixon right now, and I'm really, really, really enjoying it. It's also National Novel Writing Month, so if you guys saw the video I wrote about my November reading plans, which, you know, make plans and God laughs, I am writing. I am on track. I just hit 25,000 words this morning, a little bit over, which is great. I'm a little bit ahead of schedule on that. It's a huge milestone. It feels really good. I'm feeling really good about my writing. And it's the thing where like something always has to give, but I do feel like I'm getting a little bit better into some reading. I'm doing a couple audiobooks. Like I said, I'm reading Untamed right now, doing the audio and the physical together. And then I am reading Maud Dixon. So I've only finished 2 books so far this month, and one of them was like 101 Ways to Be Less Stressed, which was like an hour-and-a-half audiobook, although I listened to it twice. And I really enjoyed it because it's basically just like a list of things to do. And I liked it. Like it just sort of hit the spot. It just felt like therapy. I listened to it twice when I was on walks, like on 2 separate days. When I was going for a walk, I was like, let me just listen to that again. And it's sort of like a meditation, I guess. It was like a therapy meditation. And it definitely helped kind of bring me down a little bit because I was just feeling very frantic with all the things I was trying to do this month. So there you have it. But let me know, as always, if you guys have read any of these books or what your favorite book was of the month. If there's an overhyped book that didn't reach your expectations or anything you want to talk about down below, do that, of course, so we can talk down there. But thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And I will see you guys soon in another video. And yeah, have fun, guys. Bye.